Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Jeremy. I'll be leading our call today. If anyone has got any questions or anything they'd like to talk about, please type it up in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to read anything and discuss. In the meantime, let me go over some of our announcements real quick, and then we can get started. So first of all, up at the top is our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any of our other kind of training content, or potential videos and questions, check that out. We'll post our lunch and learns there. So after our lunch and learn sessions, we'll get those up. So if you want to look at past lunch and learns for content, or if you just want to look at the one that you asked a question on or something, you can find that there. We will also post other various videos when we have major updates to versions and other cool things like that. So you can check those things out. Below that's our solutions marketplace. That's also can be found at marketplace.decisions.com. If you go there, you'll find all kinds of really cool accelerators, different programs and applications that you can download and then install and import into your decision servers. So if you want to find some really cool tool that you want to use in your system, you'll find a lot of really cool things there, or maybe you want to use them as inspiration. You can check out some of those projects and then just put them directly into your decision server. Below that's our Decisions Process Maker merger update. So Decisions and Process Maker have merged together. If you want more information about what that looks like and the full press release and everything like that can be found through that QR code. Last but not least, we have our on-site Submerse event, March 16th through 18th. This is a live and in-person event at our main headquarters in Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the United States. So if you are interested in attending, you can go to decisions.com/events. The entire um, sorry, I lost my words for a second. The entire event itself is completely free. It's just paying for your lodging and travel kind of stuff. But the event itself will take place at our main headquarters in Virginia Beach. More information at decisions.com/events. So if you are interested in attending or know someone who is, send them in that direction. At decisions.com/events, you can find that event there. You click on learn more and you can have the full details, full description. The entire focus of this is about AI. So there's a lot of AI focused courses, talk about how to set up things, especially with all of our new AI features like the agents that was just added in 9.20, among other things, like how to use them to their fullest potential, how to write prompts properly, the various different ways that you could use it, both the simple out of the box things and the really cool things that you can build. We're going to highlight a lot of those, both through a full masterclass course as well as a foundational course for those that are just kind of still relatively new to decisions, but want to see how they could use AI as they're introduced into the basics of programs and stuff like that. So yeah, check that out if you are interested. All right. With that in mind, let's go on to questions. I lost my Zoom for a second. There it is. We do have a question in a Q&A. So we have a question from Wade that says, on a form, how can I display a string list that the user enters? Wade, I'll let you talk. Care to elaborate a little bit more so I know what I can kind of work towards here?
So you know how when you are like on the as like the administrator, you go in and you set like maybe there's a static list of default items for a string list, and it
Okay.
displays a list or a box where you can put um, a list of strings, right?
hmm
I just that on a form.
Okay. So, you just simply display or like
No, not
and
not
like
well. I want to display a empty box where they can put. I mean, it's really just the text the tech yeah it's like that, but I want them to enter it in and maybe have a like a lit let's say there's 1 2 3 items in there, but they can have access to edit
got it.
because like all these things, it just seems like it displays, but you can't do anything with them. You can select them, but you can't like edit them in a box as you could as if you were creating a field or creating a static list of default items.
I see. Okay. Let's see here.
Like here, if you put on the right it's static list items, and there would be a box that would open up
Oh, oops. I don't even think. Oh, there. You're talking.
like
Yeah,
that.
like this.
Just that. Like that's exactly what I'm trying to.
Right. And then, but you
But to
want
be
them to be
there,
able to add
but
their
to,
own.
right. Like if they need to edit a list of items, they could just an open list, an open string list. But it seemed, I don't know, very
Right.
complicated to try to get there. I didn't know if maybe I was missing something.
Let me think here. I'm gonna set this to this for now, just to put it in a flow real quick, so I can get something ready to test real quick. 1 second. Come on, decisions. Don't do this to me. It did this to me yesterday. Not again today. Ow. Come on. I'm gonna do this here instead. This is from yesterday. Yeah. Just make a new, not rule, form. Okay. Test form 8. Make this a string for now. Okay. Show form. Take that form. Okay. So we're looking for something like this, but we want the ability to type and add our own stuff. So if I can add, let's think here. What other database controls can we do? Would definitely need to be some kind of multi-line thing. I wonder if I can make a text. And then normally this just outputs a string. And I don't think there's a setting to let you output a list. So,
I guess I didn't see the multi-line when I tried the text box, but yeah, it was just a single string. I didn't try the, for
yeah,
some
I,
reason I
I,
couldn't find, or when I searched in items. I didn't see the multi-line
Yeah, I mean, it's there. The thing is, though, it's still a string,
one.
so it's not
Oh,
going to help
yeah,
you. It's still not going to help you like work out a list of things, um, other than doing like some kind of like split after it. Like there
yeah.
are various like split string steps that you could do.
Right, right now I'm splitting or I'm taking a list to a comma separated string and then putting it back from a comma separated string back to a list.
Mm,
Like I could probably mess with some sort of display of items and then have an add and remove button. But I was like, I just want to duplicate what it does when you're adding like a static list of items in the flow. Like that, yeah, I just want to do that.
yes, I mean, you can take some like steps afterwards. So like the text box itself could have your text and then the user, but there's not really, I guess the only problem with this is there's no, you either have to write an active form flow or something to make sure that they're putting everything on separate lines or stuff. Like cleanup would definitely be a nightmare, I guess, because there's no guarantee that they're entering it on separate lines to even do this like split string afterwards to separate it into individual lists or anything like that. Um,
Oh,
so like you can like set, and there's various ways that you could split the string or separate it based on however they type it in. But then the problem becomes how do I guarantee that a user fills this text box out the way that I want them to, right? Because
okay.
this is just completely open. Like usually this is reserved for like leaving comments on like a form or something, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's very open. And so there's not really an easy way to guarantee that someone types in exactly what you want. So without
Okay.
having a specific control, if you want to like kind of combine these two things and like limit um like exactly what they're doing so that the data is a list, but they like
Hmm.
limit exactly how they do it, you'd have to probably do some kind of combination of like a either like a sub dialogue or like a button that would take like a data from a text box. Like I could almost do like here's a text box saying here input an item here and then like an event button after it that says add to list,
All right. Okay.
something like that. And then you could set up like an active form flow that would say take
Right. Whatever they entered,
like
add it to the
trigger on the
list.
button when they click
Yeah.
the button, and then it would just um, add item to list to say add the item from the text box in my input item value that they typed in that text box,
Hmm.
add it to the form data's um, list items. Oh, that's the wrong one. Item source, right? Add it to that list, and then you could have this change the value of the existing list.
All right. And then if they select one, I could have another button that whatever they select could be removed or
Yeah, like yeah,
manage
stuff like
the
that.
list. Okay. Okay.
Because then, yeah, because that would like be a little bit more controlled. Obviously, it's going to add a little bit more complexity to the look and design as opposed to just being able to type into the box itself. But I think
Yeah.
that's just unfortunately the thing. Like, there I can add it, and you can add logic to clear this after they add it too if you want, so
Right.
that it just becomes empty. But yeah, then you can just add to the list. And then
Okay.
they can either select an item, and I believe the list box you can make it multi-select if you want them to be able to select multiple by the end as well. But that at least does the options. And if you don't like it this design, there's also radio buttons and checkbox lists and things that you could do as the quote unquote list for visual purposes. But yeah, I think it's without a specific control, it's going to be some kind of active form flow like this to build up the list so that they can add it and then maybe select one if you want to select.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got another question from Justin. Is there a way to display an image within the data view of a report, or be able to display run flow buttons on the layout-based view? Good question. Let me pull up a report. All right. Let me just make a report based on our accounts. But I have something to grab here. And I'm not going to do emails. I'm going to make this not very readable just for the fact that I don't want to show something because this is not my personal server, since my personal server is running slow. I don't want to show something I shouldn't. So we'll just look at some ugly IDs here. Um, okay, displaying data within the data view of the report. So with regards to like adding data fields that have images, um, there's no like direct like full image. There are a couple things that have been added in some of the most recent versions. Um, that you can get like little custom icons and things like that. So you can actually add like a little icon field and put like any of the decisions icons or your own icons into this. So if I have like a specific image that I want, let's just throw this tent in here. Um, there. So you can have like these icons appear inside the view for anything. So that is a type of calculated column that's in one of the more recent versions of decisions. It is uh depending on your version, like version 8 definitely can't do this. The earlier versions of version 9, you can't do this. I think it's like somewhere around 9.15 or something like that that we started adding some of these items. So you can add the images. You can add multiple. So if I want two images to appear or have the chance to appear, I could do that. So I can have multiple images appearing side by side. Um, if you see here, you can also have them be like conditional based on something. So based on like some ID value or whatever other values, if you have different values inside your report, that can change the icon that appears. So I could say like, I don't know, if it starts from A to M or whatever, then it's the snorkel. And if it's from N to Z, then it's the tent. Like you can set conditions and stuff like that. Um, to appear to affect which icons show. So there's like a little bit more configurability in what those icons actually are. So that's an option here. Again, that's under data fields. Underneath all of the data fields you can choose from, there's a calculated columns section, which is a section that's focused on being able to create something to like it has to do some kind of calculation to get the data before it displays, and it's called custom icons field. So that's available in reports since version like 9.15 or 16 or something like that. Um, I am currently on this server on 9.19, so it's not even the most recent version uh, that's in. So it's at least somewhere before, a little bit before 9.19 is when this was added. Maybe it was added in 9.19. But yeah, so that's an option there. You can put any images, and again, you can also upload those images yourself. So this is just a library, but you can provide your own file, or if you have a URL you want it to get from, you can do that with any of those images. With regards to the second part of the question, displaying run flow buttons on any of these views, there's also a calculated column for running flows. So under calculated column, it's called a run flow inline field, uh, which is going to be a little like it looks like a link. If you hit show UI, and then you add some text here and have a flow added, it'll create like a little link that will be a button you can click on. So you can click on it and it'll run whatever flow you build. And then that flow can also use any of the information from your form and everything here. So, or from your form, from your report. So if I want to take the data that's in the account ID field or in the first field here and use that somewhere in my flow, I can use that. So when the user clicks on it, it knows to reference the data that's in that particular row that they clicked on to click on the link. So and then this is just a regular flow. I can pull pretty much anything from it. Fetch entities, uh, updating data in a database if you need to, um, anything like that. You could use all kinds of different things inside the flow itself. But then it also, because it is a flow built within the report, it does allow you to use the data that appears in the fields for that particular row as well. So you can reference specific data as you're trying to, um, work with it like that. Let me know if that answers your question or if there's something more you're looking at for that specific topic.
When you actually display the run flow inline field in the layout based view, it just gives a string instead of actually displaying a button. And that's what I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to fix.
Yeah, say that one more time, sorry.
So when you change the reports view to be a layout based view, it doesn't
Got it.
actually
This one.
display the, you can do add data and then select the run flow, the calculated field. However, it does not display a button. It displays just a string of characters.
Interesting.
So when you do column and then do the calculated field on the run flow,
Right.
and then instead of displaying a button, it just displays that.
Interesting. And is it clickable? Have you
Nope.
tried clicking it? No, it's not. Interesting. Okay. I wonder if it's
Currently, I'm bypassing it by doing a data repeater within a flow. However, I would like the features that a report gives. And so I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to do.
right. Let's see here. Um, gonna change anything here, but let's see. Might just be a limitation on layouts, unfortunately. I don't see anything that says explicitly that it would or wouldn't work. Run this on a dashboard real quick. Page. Save. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's got a bunch of actions related to that. Like, yeah, you're right. I can't click on this or do anything with it. Hmm, that's very weird. I don't know if this is just, I guess, a general limitation on layouts that they can't like run things. I don't see anything as far as I can tell that says that it can or can't be limited to calculated columns in any way. So I think if this is something that's pretty important, maybe just reaching out to support, because if it is like a setting somewhere that's affecting this that I'm just not familiar with, they'd be able to find it. Otherwise, they can help get like a ticket set up to get this added as a feature or fixed if this is like supposed to be functioning but is not for some reason. Um, I don't see any reason why, or I don't see any information on our stuff that says that it's not allowed. So I don't know what, I can't say exactly what this is. Yeah, I guess unfortunately, I think that's my best advice on this is just if you want to try to work or not have the workaround be like the primary focus anymore, reach out to support, and then if it's still something we can't do, we can try to get it fixed or added in a future update.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. I always hate having to give that as an answer, but unfortunately, I don't see any other way around it at the moment. All right, we do have a couple other questions. Alex, I saw you raised your hand. If it's related to Justin's question, can you just type yes in the chat? If it's a different question, can you like your own separate question? Can you just type it in the Q&A? Um, and then I'll get to it once I'm done with the other questions. Okay, you can talk if you have something to add then.
No, I was just curious what version this functionality, the run inline flow field, becomes available in.
Runflow inline field has been on for a very long time. It has been in version 8, so I don't think there's any reason that you shouldn't be accessible.
Okay,
Um,
great. Okay,
yep.
thanks.
Calculated columns, Runflow inline field on any report. All right, perfect. Okay, we got another question here. This question is from Joe. Joe's question is, can you show how to make a form be maximized regardless of a zoom percent? The form will resize as best as you can uh, as you change the view percent.
So when you design forms, you know, people have different monitor sizes. Sometimes they have
Hmm.
different zoom levels. And I know within reason it can only do so much. But
Yeah.
um, you've introduced flex forms. I still have to figure out the way to make that work because I'm basically making my Zoom browser at 100 and then designing on what I think is a reasonable size monitor that people will use. And
Hmm.
then I don't know what will happen when they go to a smaller monitor or even a bigger monitor or even change their zoom percentage. So is there a way that uh, forms can be set up so that they adjust roughly, to where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and especially with the flex layout, and that's kind of like the purpose of it, is like setting up your heights and widths and stuff to be flexible and having at least like your minimums and maximums set as much as possible. And you can also do some of it with adjusting in the designer, like how you expand and set the like within the designer view to fit as much as you can. Because I think that this also plays into it, where if it's this size, it's going to try to make it this size. So if I want to make it bigger, if I make it bigger, I believe it actually will try to fit, like to make that the default or the general like starting point. I can try opening this up real quick to see if that's the case. So you can see it like it starts with that length, right? And I think if you have it smaller, like if starting smaller, it will try to like fit that general space into a monitor. But if it's set like that for us to start, and I look at this on a big screen, it'll try to fit it on a big screen. If I open this up from like a laptop screen that's not as wide or something like that, then it should shrink to try to fit into it. But I do think it comes down to like a mix of having your like minimum maximum settings set in a specific way. For sure, like making sure they're not too small for the minimum. Um, but also like choosing that length when you have it in the designer here. It does make it like obviously in this way it's a little difficult because I have to scroll, but that allows it to be bigger. If I shrink this like it was before, at least width wise, and then I run my flow, you can see the width, it does like fit into the same width that I had before. So there's a certain level of it. I don't know exactly why that's the main like setting, I guess, but there's a certain level that is the size that it is here is going to be like the main size that it tries to fit to. Even if I don't even have a max height or anything like that set. Inside my flex layout or my entire form itself. Like you can even see here the default for height, it doesn't even have a max height unless you want to go out of your way to edit. So it's not actually going to change that height. It's all about the way that you have it in the designer itself that it tries to fit it.
So really, those pixel settings are really where you got to start.
Yes. And you can see here, even if I'm in just in like the main properties, there's a designer width in here that you can set. Well, I guess it's designer width, but it's still that the whatever the designer width is affects what it is when you pull it up on in like an actual uh test.
Is there a way to, two things, is there a way to reduce the height of a row of an advanced data grid? Seems to be taking up a lot of space. If it was nice and smaller, it would be probably a little better. And and is it possible to remove the numbers on the left side of the advanced data grid? You know, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're you're talking within the advanced data grid or on this level of the data
No,
grid?
inside. Well,
Inside
when
the
you're,
data grid.
yeah,
Okay.
when you're.
Let me grab something here. You're talking about the height. I don't know that there's a field for height.
I didn't find anything.
Yeah, I don't think there's a field for height. So if height is what you want, maybe some CSS might be able to help. I don't know how much that would affect like the height and width of any of these things. So that's maybe an avenue down the road if you want to mess with that, you can adjust. That might do something. That's without going out of my way to look at the CSS of a report to see if that's an option to change.
Hmm.
Um, I imagine you would be able to. Uh, there. What was your? There was a second thing you asked. I can't remember
Yeah,
what it
the
was.
numbers that are on the left side of an
Oh,
advanced
yeah, the
data grid.
numbers. That's a setting somewhere for sure. Question is, do I remember where it is? Let's see. I swear it was a setting. I know I've seen something like that before to show and hide them. And on a recent lunch and learn, someone was asking about hiding certain things, and I saw that setting somewhere. Maybe it's in here. But that's actions. That's calendar, which we're not using. These columns. Maybe not. I swear there was a setting for this somewhere.
Yeah, 'cause it's just taking up horizontal space, I guess.
Right, yeah.
And there's no need for it. It's no benefit to anybody.
Let's figure out from Dart. Better than me just searching. Enable row numbering option. It's under.
Just search for enable there.
Oh yeah, I forget that you can do that. Row icon rows page. Why is that not appearing then? It's supposed to be a setting under grid view.
Is this a report that you're looking at?
Yes. I pulled up a regular report just to see if I could find it in general.
Mm-hmm.
Not to even that's even without. It's not even an option in here. Interesting. I don't think we would have removed this. It's supposed to be grid view options. Enable row numbering. Gonna be on a field. Gonna be just in general. Interesting. I wonder why this isn't even here. I thought you could. What I'm seeing here is that maybe this is I don't know why it would have been removed, but maybe it was. And even if it is, the name group settings, initial format, allow reordering, freeze columns, key field column. Change any settings. Specified gives me the column stuff. Oh, okay, there it is. Grid, you have to change grid settings to specified, not default. It needs to be specified. That gives you the option to uncheck the checkbox to enable row
Oh,
numbering.
all right.
And
So let
then
me
that
see.
will clear that extra number fields row.
Let me make sure I get that one. Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
So
No
you go
worries.
into the actual
Yep.
advanced data grid,
Yep.
and then on the left there is an option for grid view.
Yeah. And on the main properties that has like all the
Yep,
properties
yep.
lists, grid view. You need to change grid settings type from default to specified
And then
because
enable
that
row
adds
numbering,
the
take it
additional
off.
options. Yep.
Got it. Oh, good. That was bothering the hell out of me. Got to write that one
Yeah.
down.
I knew I'd seen it. I just could not piece word. Grid settings specified lets you set all kinds of things. That's all. It's also useful. This is the question someone was asking about in the past, where it's like hiding the ability to sort and group inner reports as well. You can do
Hmm.
with that. But yeah, enable row numbering, uncheck it, and you'll completely lose that little extra space for the numbers.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, awesome. All right. Next up, we've got a question from Melind, a couple questions. How to create dynamic tasks and steps, and for decisions for every candidate, there's a set of tasks. Task information is passed over to decisions through API integrations, fixed types of tasks like send email, accept application, etc. The number of tasks are dynamic. This could be 4 or 5. They need to be created. These tasks will be executed on a time interval, so timer event would be required. Um, okay, so you're looking at the ability to like send out different tasks, but different numbers of tasks potentially each time. Let's see if this is gonna, no, this isn't gonna work for me. I had a good example on that on my server. I don't know why it doesn't want to work for me today. Okay, let me go into this.
Give me 2 minutes, I'll call you back, okay? Okay.
Sorry?
No. I got another call. Another call. Sorry, yeah. So you're talking about the my question. So sorry.
Yes. No, you're fine. I'm just grabbing this real quick. I actually think I have a video
Yeah. So
that
this
talks
is
about
a
this.
bit. I never tried this in Decision. I worked on this on other platform
Hmm.
where I can create a dynamic task and the information is passed to the task through API, and then basically we schedule the task right based on the timer information. Timing information is set, and if it is updated, we used to update it, and then the task will do the operations. Operations could be anything, but we
Hmm.
used to spawn the tasks right on the same workflow, and what action that task will perform is dynamic. So something like that. I don't know how we can do it in the decision.
Sure, yeah. So, really anytime you want to do any kind of dynamic thing,
Mhm.
uh, you'll depend if the data itself is going to be changed. You want something that can like change based on the runtime. Um, we have tasks in decisions that are like actions that a user gets sent, but on a task itself, like I'd have to apply a specific form that is that particular task. Um, However, if you want something like more like very open that you can choose, basically any subflow that you have. So subflow then, oh, that's an annotation. Sorry, I forgot that that's
This
in here.
workflow doesn't have uh, any forms. These are all background operations.
That's fine. So it doesn't have to be a form specifically then, but in that case, any kind of like thing that you're going to have that's going to be different options. What you can do is you have a subflow, right? A subflow is going to be some other existing flow that you have built within your system. I don't have a whole lot in this particular project at the moment. I only have these two flows, right? But like creating this project flow and then this account flow, but any flows that I built, I can add as this particular subflow. And normally, when you use it, I just pick that flow and it's always that thing. However, um, on any subflow step, there's this selection type. And instead of just having it pick a specific subflow to run, I can change this selection type to be runtime selection, meaning that it is going to run a flow, it's going to choose which flow to run when when this process starts. So you can have like a step. Usually it's going to be like a truth table at the beginning to like read certain values and say, right, if it is this situation, run my send email flow. And if it's this information, run my accept application flow, and so on and so forth. But that truth table will output different ID values that correspond to the flows that you've created. So then you can pass them into this subflow, and this subflow will then allow you to have different things running depending on what it tells it to run at the time. So based on your different values, like usually it's like a truth table or like a rule that's going to assess like what exactly it needs to run at the time. But it'll
Mhm.
say, okay, if according to the information it needs to run send email, send the email ID into this flow. And if it needs to do the accept application process, put the accept application process ID value into this flow. So then it can just run pretty much any flow that you need at any given time.
So, but I had to create the subflow, separate subflow for email task, a separate subflow for let's say approval task, separate workflow, and then on the runtime, it will call that subflow, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So one more thing I wanted to understand how the schedule and timer event works in this.
For
Because this that so when I'm getting a call from the external application, they are sending me like five tasks or three tasks, right?
mhm,
So first task is maybe sending an email, second task is again sending an email. But first task, let's say for example, a reminder, right? So first task is sending a first reminder email. Second task is sending a second reminder email. That is after 1 day after completion of, or 1 day after the first email, something like that. And third task is like closing the application. Let's say 3 days after the initiation of task. If there is no response, so whether to keep that alive or not, that is external, but initial setup would be like 1 day, this event, after 1 day this first event will happen, a task will happen, second task will happen 2 days, and third task may happen like 5 days, something like that. So how we can create that, shall we use the scheduler, or shall we use the timer event?
um yes, so there are some steps that can do some kind of like pausing timer based stuff. So you can have it like pause a flow at a certain point. Now, we always advise being careful about these because it leaves like data in process and stuff like that. But there's like various points where you can like pause a flow or something if it needs to wait for like a certain amount of time. Um, and you can like compute that if you need to say like from today do this 1 day in the future, right? I could like pause this flow for a day, and then once a day passes, it'll continue the flow. There's like some things like that that you can do um, to like stop something in the process and like check it. It also depending on like what your data is coming from, uh, if you have like that particular like the start or something like that in your database, you can always add criteria to like fetches. So if it's fetching something in a database or fetching like an existing item, you also may be able to add criteria to the fetch to say if the day is like, you know, 2 days, 1 day after the start date or something like that, you can always run things on that as well. Basically, the mapping here, anytime you have a date time input that you need to map for some kind of date value, you can compute. You always have the compute option to like calculate some kind of time frame. So if you do need to check or assess whether or not this needs to run or something like that, you can do that on there. So like maybe running like a daily check to see if it has reached the 1 day mark before it needs to do something again, then you can use the fetch entities with criteria about, or like some other fetching or something, running your integration to get the data and checking that a date value, computing the date value to see if it has been a day in the past. The other like schedule and time-based thing that you can do in decisions is in a project under jobs and events, you can set up scheduled jobs. This is if you want to set like a consistently scheduled like item. So like maybe you want this to run like every day in the morning at 9 a.m. It's going to run this particular job, and then you can set that job up to be any flow that you want to run. So when I create a new scheduled job, this can run daily, monthly, whatever, like something more unique if I need to set it up in a more unique or interesting way. But you can have it run daily. Um, if you want, you can even choose specific days to ignore if you want to ignore the weekends. You can have it respect business days. Like there's a lot of ways that you can adjust like exactly when it starts and certain days that it does or doesn't run, and stuff like that. But then the flow itself, you could do the same thing. So like maybe you would want this to run in the morning and say, check this date. If this date is over a day overdue or whatever, uh then send another reminder email. Or if this date has passed, or if this assignment is still not completed, or if this action still hasn't happened yet, then send a reminder email. So you can put the logic inside the flow. So then every morning it's gonna run this, check that data, and if that data is, does what it needs to do, then it does one thing. If the data is different, then maybe it needs to route to the other task, to send a
I
reminder or something like that.
I think a more relevant would be the timer event where not the scheduling because so I had so in that earlier case if you were showing so I had to create like there are 5 tasks. I just create those 5 tasks in that process and then in actual task process, right? If it called let's say send email task and it is supposed to happen after 1 day, then I just call that process a process. In that sub process, there will be a step to pause the uh, pause for 1 day, something like that, right? That and then actual execution of the task will happen, right? That
Hmm.
is how it should be then, right? I think. And but um, so if one complexity in that is that pause time could change. And also the event itself could change. So I have like sent email right now. I created the task. I created the sub process, basically initiated the sub process, right? And then pause for it, and then may get cancelled or the duration uh, when that event should happen can change. So how to handle in that case? Is that possible to change the duration of pause? We can update that, right? Value.
Um, I think I don't, yeah, I think you can a lot of these things, a lot of the values on date fields can become dynamic. I don't know about that very specific on the compute if they can. Well, yeah, because you can set the offset. The offset can also just come from the flow, so that offset can also change. So like before when I was showing it on this is
Mhm.
any date time, I set the offset as constant to be 1 day, but this can also come from your flow. So you just create some value to say in XYZ circumstances, it might be 1 day, but in a different case, it might be 3 days or a week or something more. So it can come from the flow. So you do have the ability of making that completely dynamic on any date that you want to set the offset or to check when it does need to run.
You got it, got it. Okay, I get that then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. A couple other questions from Alex I'll try to address really quickly since we're running out of time here. Wondering how the output type affects output from a list box control. So if I open up my form here really quick, that's the wrong one. The other form from earlier. So the list box control, basically the stuff inside the list box can be any data type. So if I choose this data right now, I chose string when I was testing it earlier. That data can be an integer. Then all the data inside it will be marked as integers. And then when you click it, whatever item is selected, it's going to get output as an integer. If you choose like a more complex data type, like a structure that you've created, you'll get an extra field where you get to choose like of the details of that structure, which item of those things is going to be displayed. So like obviously I probably don't want an ID because that's ugly. I can choose to display the name, so the name is what appears. But same thing, upon clicking on it, it is going to output the entire structure, all pieces of that structure. So if this list box is showing all of these data structure examples, it's going to display them by name so it looks nice. But then when a user selects it, it's going to output all of the data that is related to that particular item. So I can very easily output anything. The list can show anything and output anything. It doesn't matter what type it is.
But if you scroll down to the output section, there's this output type, single select and multi-select.
Oh, yeah. So this is so if I want a user to be able to like pick one from among all the items, then then single select. So it's going to output, in my case, one string or one data structure. If I choose multiple select, then they can click or unclick any number of items in that list box, and then the data that gets output from it is going to be a list of all of those particular items.
But the
So
default is
in
all items.
uh, the default uh, the default is going to be whatever the user selects. So by default, when you add a list box, it's going to be single item output. And the whole purpose of a list box is something that a user selects from that list box. So in my case, if I have my list box here, um, being like all of these structures, and I'll just add two for now, right? If it's outputting these two structures in it, then I can choose between them. I can only choose one or the other with single select. If you have, and then it's just going to output that one item that was selected. With multi-select, or when the type is outputting multiple items, then you can output like multiple of those things instead of just one or the other. Uh, and it outputs it as an entire list of all the items that were selected. So you can see here the output, instead of it just being one data structure, whatever, it's a list of those things because it'll output the full list that you selected.
Okay, but if I select nothing, what gets outputted? Like everything?
Um, I don't think anything will get output. If you select nothing, it'll be nothing. And in fact, if I try to submit something without having selected, at least by default, Decisions considers this a required field. It's going to throw me an error saying something has to be specified in here. So even if I select nothing, it's not going to let me continue. If this is set as a required field and there's nothing in there, it won't let me move forward.
Okay, and if you change the output, so that it's optional on submit.
If that's the case, then I believe if it'll be optional. Um, but I think it'll just output nothing. I don't think it outputs all of the items. So if I go here and I run it and I don't select anything, let me just put this stuff so it doesn't throw an error at me. And now the list items is uh those are the two default. Oh, I guess maybe it does. There's not a selected. Oh, it's the full list itself gets output. Sorry, this is the full list that it started with. That data does go through, um, but there's no like selected item that I got to choose from, which is what this is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there is a value that will show all the items in the list if you select nothing, but it's a different variable.
Okay, gotcha. So there's a selected items component to this, and there's the list itself kind of thing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right. And then in regards to your other question, can you start a scheduled job from within a flow? Possibly there is an internal services step here that you could use that has various internal
Yes.
services. Because I don't think there's like an explicit scheduled job step.
Let
Yeah,
me
it's
check.
something completely different. If there's a job service in here, either job service or scheduled job service, you might be able to do it. Um, I don't see job service. Yeah, scheduled job service. Um, I can't. You can disable or enable scheduled jobs within
Yes.
the flow. But I think you can run job now. There you
Right.
go.
Gotcha.
Run job now, provide the ID of the job so you can have a flow force a scheduled job to run at a certain point with that internal
Okay.
services
I'll take
step.
a look.
Perfect.
And what is the rate on this job?
Sorry, say that again.
And this is what's the location?
There's a step called call internal decision
It's a
service.
completely remote opportunity. Right, 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 right.
Yep. And then you have to
Yeah.
find
Okay.
scheduled
That's the
job
only
service and then
one round they have, right?
it's the what? Sorry, I didn't hear your question. All right. Okay. Well, we are at our time limit now. So that is everything. Thank you all for joining and asking all the questions. We had a lot of really good questions today. Not very often we take the whole entire time slot. So we'll go ahead and end our lunch and learn. But we still have lunch and learns this week, Wednesday and Thursday. So if you have more questions, feel free to join tomorrow or Thursday, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. If anyone has anything else, just let the training team know at training@decisions.com through email, and we'll be happy to address any training questions or have any pre-submitted questions for future lunch and learns. All right, hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next lunch and learn.
Great. Thanks.